quality drink mix at an affordable price. Rasna Drink Mix. With over 5 delicious flavors to choose from, a 25-gram pack makes up to 1 liter of drink. There is no need to add sugar. Unlike other drink mixes, Rasna is made with all natural flavors and is low in sugar. It also contains 5 essential daily vitamins and minerals. Rasna Drink Mix is available nationwide. For more information, call us on 233-2473. Rasna, endorsed by celebrities.
Kaieteur Radio, keeping you informed.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Burby's 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.
Hello and welcome to your news at noon. It comes to you with the compliments of Rasna Drink Mix. I am Kevin Smith. Before we get to the top stories we're tracking, let's get to today's front page comment of the Kaieteur News. Different governments, same poor leadership. 2 successive governments, one type of political leadership, all the time. Nothing changes. When the previous government was in power, it shouted about how many it was going to imprison. Its pretended targets are still free and laughing their heads off in scorn and disdain. This new government assumes office and screams the same stupidities about locking up crooked opposition operators, and now it is the turn of those political foes to smirk and mock the government. As we look at both of them, we observe the same ugly vulgarities. They are so naked that a blind man can see them. The previous government set of people take money at the side for gun licenses. This one don't follow suit. The former government people charge something under the table for the house lots. This one does the same thing. The prior government operators apply a special personal fee for land and permits and doing businesses in this country, and guess what? The new government likes this way so much that it keeps doing the same things over and over. Governments change, practices stay the same. Perpetrators celebrate, citizens lament, and the ugly governance and vulgarities continue. Guess who is trapped in the middle? You. Guess who vote for these people, for them to lord it over us and feast on us? You. And now for the top stories we're tracking. Ramatar agreed for Guyana to repay Kanji owners 1% royalty. In short, Guyana gets nothing. Guyana's local content policy must create long-term value for generations to come, says expert, and knife bandits rob teen, celebrate next-door house, and threaten family. Meanwhile, CDC monitoring sinking vessel off Venezuela. Over 100 community health workers were hired without documentation by coalition government and haven't been paid for 8 months. Stay tuned to stay informed.
It seems like children have been home from school forever, and you've done baking, drawing, schoolwork, and played Ring of Roses about 100 times. We've all been under some strain lately, but let us embrace our children. They're under strain too. Let's show them more love, patience, and care. Let's help to build their resilience in these trying times. Not just today or tomorrow, but for the future. Their future.
A message from the Child Care and Protection Agency, Ministry of Human Services and Social Security, and UNICEF.
And now for the news in detail. There has been much discourse over the industry low 2% royalty Guyana is getting from ExxonMobil's oil production in the Stabroek Block. However, the deal granted to the owner of the Kanji Block pales in comparison. When former President and Minister of Petroleum Donald Ramatar signed away the Kanji Block On March 4th, 2015, he not only agreed to a royalty rate of 1%, he agreed that Guyana would repay every cent. The fiscal terms of the contract denote that the funds gained from the sale of the oil or gas will be split 50-50 between the contractor and the government after the contractor recoups its investment. The royalty is what should have also been payable by the contractor of a percentage of all oil and gas produced and sold. In this contract, the royalty is being paid to GRA from the government's share of profit oil. In other news, when looking at the sheer scale of its oil and gas discoveries, it is clear that Guyana has in its hands an enviable amount of wealth. But to ensure that resource benefits its citizenry, the new true owners of this patrimony, the politicians in office, have to get a few things right. According to Chatham House Associate Fellow Dr. Valerie Marcel, Guyana needs to think long-term and keep its eyes fixed on outlining provisions that create value that will last for years to come and under economically different circumstances. Instead of trading scores of Guyanese in certain specialized areas, Dr. Marcel said the new oil-producing state would be better served in conducting training for vocational skills, which can be applied to other sectors of the economy. In other news, mere minutes after two knife bandits robbed a teenager of her belongings yesterday, they turned up next door to her home to celebrate the stolen booty. 18-year-old Amina Mohammed was walking along Sussex Street, Charlestown, when at around 7:30, the bandits rode up behind her on bicycles. Mohammed recalled that she was attacked in the vicinity of George's Bakery, located at the corner of Sussex and Ketley Streets. Mohammed, who was at the time heading to work, remembered turning around and running back to her home in tears. She said that she saw the same men at the location right next door to her house, celebrating the stolen booty with other boys suspected to be bandits as well. According to Mohammed, her brother stormed out and instructed them to return his sister's belongings. The bandits, she said, mocked and threatened to kill his entire family. In other news, Guyana's Civil Defense Commission, with support from the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Authority, is closely monitoring the sinking of an oil tanker off the Venezuelan coast. The 15-year-old tanker, named Nabarima, is an oil vessel that is permanently moored offshore of Venezuela and at the Corocoro oil field in the Gulf of Paria, located between Venezuela and Trinidad. The vessel currently holds 1.3 million barrels of oil and is currently sinking in the Gulf of Paria. The potential spill threatens not only the Gulf, but the entire Caribbean Sea, as it can impact the ecological systems of Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago almost immediately, with the impact affecting other countries within the hemisphere. And moving on, in excess of 100 persons were engaged earlier in the year as Region 6 community health workers by the David Granger administration, with no documentation to support their employment. This is according to Regional Chairman David Armagan. It was during yesterday's first statutory meeting of the newly installed Regional Democratic Council that APNU AFC Councillor Shirley Scott disclosed that these staff were employed since April 2020 during the pandemic to boost the staffing in the various categories at the hospital. Armagan stressed that the workers were taken on by the previous administration, which has left the current government to deal with the issue of people who worked for months not being paid for the job they executed. You are tuned into Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. This is your news at noon. We will return after the break.
The government of Guyana has begun the rollout of the COVID-19 $25,000 household cash grant. Citizens are being advised that there is no pre-registration requirement. Clearly identified distribution clerks under the supervision of the Ministry of Finance will visit the respective households to verify credentials. Following this exercise, distribution will be done on a house-to-house basis. In cases where there are multiple households in one home, only the principal householder will receive the cash grant in the first instance. However, the other householders will be required to provide their information on a pink form, and following verification, they will receive the cash grant. The $25,000 household cash grant is in keeping with the government's promise to provide economic relief during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Welcome back. Let us continue with the news. In the United States, candidates face serious penalties, including fines and jail time, if they don't produce campaign finance reports in a timely manner or otherwise breach campaign finance laws. Unlike Guyana, the U.S. places much stock in scrutinizing the money received and spent by candidates to ensure the public is kept up to speed on how money impacts political campaigns. With the advent of Guyana's oil industry, the impact of money on the South American nation's elections is no longer one of generally local proportions. International interest in Guyana has peaked. In the months leading up to the elections, political commentators had wondered whether oil companies and their lobbyists and interest groups would seek to influence the outcome of Guyana's elections. In other news, the APNUFC opposition is in full support of any international assistance being lent to reform Guyana's electoral laws. This was revealed on Monday by opposition leader Joseph Harmon, who was asked to comment on the PPP administration seeking assistance from the Canadian government on electoral reform. Harmon's statement, however, comes after several high-ranking members of the APNUFC are facing heavy accusations of playing a hand in attempting to pervert the will of the people at the last elections. Only recently, Guyana's Attorney General and Legal Affairs Minister Anil Nandlal announced that government has requested help from the Canadian government to ensure that the harrowing events surrounding the March 2020 elections do not reoccur. And moving on, cops yesterday caught the driver who fled after he struck down two Kaieteur News staffers along the Houston East Bank Demerara Public Road on October 13th with his tinted black Nissan Tida motor car. The car was spotted in the early morning hours by traffic ranks operating along the East Bank of Demerara at the entrance of McDoom. Both the driver and the car were subsequently escorted to the Rimeville police station, where he was told of the offense. We were told that the man begged to settle the matter and offered to compensate the staffers with $10,000 in cash. This offer was obviously refused, and he was charged for the offense and released on $20,000 bail. He is expected to appear in court on October 26, 2020. And moving on, the Guyana Police Force yesterday issued wanted bulletins for two men in relation to fraud allegations. 46-year-old James Emmanuel Ragnot of Lot 187, Parafield, Lenora, West Coast Demerara, is wanted for questioning in relation to obtaining, by false pretense, committed on tap-in tiles and others between January 3, 2020 and April 20, 2020. 50-year-old Munishwar Prasad of Hossororo Stretch, Northwest District, is also wanted for questioning in relation to fraudulent conversion committed on Deocharan Singh on September 6, 2017. Anyone with information that may lead to the arrest of Ragnat and Prasad are asked to contact the police on telephone numbers 226-2870, 229-2655, or 911 or the nearest police station. All information will be treated with the strictest confidence. And now for your COVID-19 update. The number of worldwide coronavirus cases, according to Worldometer, has reached 41,191,889, with deaths at 1,131,556. Recovery cases has reached 30,709,608. There are 31 new COVID-19 cases in Guyana. The Ministry of Health dashboard reported yesterday that the new cases have pushed Guyana's COVID-19 numbers to 3,796. Of the 31 new cases, Region 1 has 18, Region 4 has 4, and Region 7 with 6 new cases, while Regions 3, 8, and 9 each reported 1 new case. Additionally, there are 14 patients in the COVID-19 ICU. And coming from CNN, a leading health expert says U.S. COVID-19 cases will begin to rapidly accelerate in a week as the country topped 6 60,000 new infections Tuesday. That figure is triple what the daily average was back in June, when restrictions had begun to ease. As cases also rise across Europe, some cities in the UK, France, Spain are resisting centralized efforts to impose tighter regulations. And that brings us to the end of today's News at Noon. Remember, it came to you with the compliments of Rasna Drink Mix. I am Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's Newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226-8210 today.
This is GHK Lal inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday on the National Outlook for commentary